Soul Garden.
Hello, welcome to Astro 103, episode 10. We are talking about planets in transit, and we've reached now to Mercury. Mercury, the fastest moving planet in our solar system, also the focusing agent of the intellectual state of awareness. Mercury is what keeps our minds moving, and Mercury is the fastest moving planet. So out of the all 12 states of awareness, the intellectual awareness changes its mood or changes its focus the most. All right? Whereas the Pluto, death, is the slowest. Thank God. Can you imagine if death was as fast as Mercury? It's like people dropping like flies and things just changing. Every like, oh, there she goes. She's reincarnated. Mercury is fast, and our thoughts are fast. Our intellect is fast. And Mercury moves around the sun in about 87 days, 87 point something, 0.6, I think. So pretty quickly moves through the whole 12 zodiac races. And remember, Mercury is our mind. So your mind is focused on Aquarius, then we're focused on Capricorn, then we're focused on. All right, moves pretty fast. Now, Mercury has this interesting phenomenon of many retrogrades, right? Everyone knows Mercury retrograde. Oh my God, Mercury retrograde. You know, it's like that's the only planet or that's the only transit that kind of made it to pop culture where people actually freak out and at a transit. You know, full moons, those types of things, people aren't freaking out. Mercury retrograde, oh my God. Especially now with technology, people kind of panic. Let me explain just what that is. Now, first of all, in your chart, wherever Mercury is, well, that's what your mind is focused on. All right, that's what you're thinking about. We've talked about this in Astro 101 a little bit with natal charts. And because Mercury hangs out close to the sun, basically in a chart, you're going to see Mercury basically does this pendulum thing where it's in front of the sun and then behind the sun, and then in front of the sun and behind the sun. As the sun is moving around, it's penduluming in front and behind, in front and behind as it retrogrades. And basically, Mercury retrogrades for 3 weeks every 4 months. Okay, 3 weeks every 4 months. So sometimes we get 3 in a year, sometimes we get 4 in a year. It kind of depends on where, you know, the year calendar is not based on the planets. It's based on man putting a foundation onto time. So direct versus retrograde. Well, I like to think of it this way. In my clients, I find it this way. When Mercury is ahead of the sun, we are thinking ahead in life. All right? When it's near the sun, we're thinking about where the sun is. When it's behind the sun, we're rethinking or going back to something the sun has already been at or been there, done that. So the universe is asking us to go back and look at again. So Mercury retrograde is always us relooking at an old issue. Now here's one of the things that just blows me away about astrology. Okay, and I'm going to use 2010 as an example. Mercury retrograded in 2010 through Virgo. And you might go, oh, that's kind of cool. All right, because it does shift through time and what signs get hit, okay, because of everything moving in time. So it retrograded through Virgo. Well, it just happened to retrograde through Virgo, which was ending a Saturn transit in Virgo for the first time in 30 years. So we're ending a Saturn transit. The sun was in Virgo. Oh boy, what a great time and what a great place to retrograde. A final wrap-up. I always find that Mercury retrogrades through a space that's incredibly important, and not just important because we value it, but because a major planet has just left or a major planet is entering. The timing and the ballet of the planets, it starts to just freak you out. It's beautiful and it's amazing. But Mercury retrograde is a pain in the ass, all right? Now, if you don't understand what retrograde is, basically it's the polarizing. Remember, Gemini is the twins, right? And Gemini is communication. And communication is actually all based on two. You've got your thoughts and you've got your spoken word. Then they speak and it goes to your thoughts. And it goes from your thoughts to the spoken word. It's a duality. Communication is a duality. It is the physicalization, if that's a word, of spiritual message in physical form. Okay, we take spiritual message, we put it in physical form. First we make it into electricity things, and then we actually make it into sound waves. And then it's actually heard by sound waves, made back into electricity, put back into sound waves, right? So there's this duality of communication. I look at the retrograde as that duality. It's the duality. Of course it retrogrades. And what happens is during a retrograde, it's not that things fail, it's that your focus shifts to the other duality. All right? So you can play this out in lots of ways. If a person is born Mercury direct, that is a person who basically is a talker, and they kind of think through their mouth a bit more, and they're going to be a little bit more outgoing in their speech. You know, there's other things that tell you otherwise. If Mercury is retrograde at birth, this is a person who's a huge thinker, maybe not a self-starter when it comes to their words. They're more on this part of the duality than that part of the duality, right? Then Mercury goes retrograde. What happens? Mercury says, oh, we're going to put all of our attention into the other duality. So the quiet people speak up, and the noisy people shut up. Okay? And that's what happens. Or at least the universe is sponsoring that more. All right? So when your phone fails and you can't make the call, what God is saying is, shut up. Shut up and think. Maybe you shouldn't talk right now. When the email doesn't make it out to the other person, maybe you shouldn't have sent it. The universe is saying, let's look at the internalization, the other side of this coin for once, for about 3 weeks. Let's look at this for about 3 weeks. That's it. That's all the universe wants you to look at. Why can't we sign contracts in a retrograde? Well, I think you can sign a contract in a retrograde. I think what you have to be conscientious of is if it's a brand new contract that is presented to you in a retrograde and it's the first time you've seen it, don't sign it because you haven't let the other side of your thought process process it. It's not just spoken and internal. It's also two ways of looking at something. Okay? That's what Gemini is. So there's the internal and there's the external, but then there's also the plus side and the minus side. There's always two intellectual perspectives to create duality, which we have called reality. All right? So I would say don't sign a contract if it was put under your nose for the first time in a retrograde. You want to wait until you have actually let your other sides of it, the plus side, the upside down side, the underside, whatever side it is you're not focused on, you're going to focus on it when the Mercury goes direct, and the universe is going to reveal information. Not to mention the person you're signing with the contract with, they've got to go through their polarization too. But however, myself, I tend to actually think about the way I work. Frankly, every time Soul Garden's got an upgrade, it's been in a retrograde. So I'll be thinking about, oh, I want to do all these things on the site, and I want to make these changes on the site, and da-da-da, but I don't have time. Mercury goes retrograde, I actually start doing it in the retrograde because I can go back, I can process it internally, and then when Mercury goes direct, boom, look at all these great new things on Soul Garden. So in your chart, Mercury is telling us where your mind is. What are you thinking about? What are you focused on? And the most powerful time of our thought coming together with our awareness is when the Sun conjuncts Mercury, when our awareness and mind come together. And that's a point where you almost have to slow down your mind during that transit of the conjunction, because your mind and your awareness are moving so fast, usually because they're working as one. If the Sun is behind and Mercury's ahead, let's say the Sun's in the 5th house and Mercury's in the 6th. So the Sun's in the 5th house. Oh my gosh, I'm going to change my life. I want my dreams to come true. I want to fall in love. I want to do this creative project. I want. Mercury's in the 6th house. So while you are trying to create your new heartfelt lifestyle, Mercury in the 6th is going, but I'm going to need to do this, I'm going to need to do that, I'm going to have to change my schedule, and I'm not going to be able to commute to work this way. And Mercury's already thinking about the lifestyle that's going to have to change while you are actually making the changes of your creativity. Let's use the same example and go backwards. Let's say the Sun's in the 5th house, and it's all about, oh my gosh, I want to create this total life. Mercury's in the 4th. It's going, oh, you want this life, but you're not really taking care of yourself, and you're not really mothering yourself, and these things need to be changed. I hope that makes some clarity. Okay, that's all I have to say for Mercury, but we're going to talk more in the future. This series is going to go on and on and on, but hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time for Astro 103. Live, love, be.